What's up, all Power Riders crew? We're going to do a little bit something different this time. Occasionally I get comments or questions, something like that posted on one of my videos asking me, hey, could you do this for me? Could you do that for me? Give me some. In this case, we're getting dimensions. Now, he asked me to post pictures and stuff like that. That's kind of hard to do on YouTube, to be honest with you. It doesn't really give that ability unless you go in through the, what's that called? The post part. And the post thing, it works. I like it. It has a lot of good interaction that I can do with you guys and stuff. But it kind of gets buried after a while, you know? So, what I'm going to do is, I want to do it video style. So, here's the question. For Kevin Diebler, buddy, I hope I pronounced that right. Random question. Wondering if you could help me out with something. I was wondering if you could take some pics and measurements and send them to me for a project. I have a 4-bench seat and wanting to get the Sunfire seats and wanting to make a center console. I have everything to do, but the seats hoping at least build a foam mock-up and build it out of sheet aluminum. People, I couldn't read squat for 1 or 2 right now. I'm still kind of under that COVID thing right now. I'm on the downhill slide of it, feeling a lot better. And so, yeah, but the brain still isn't functioning correctly. So anyway, so instead of me posting a bunch of pictures, being that the Sunfire seats here are a very common swap, and I see that quite often in the forums and the Facebook groups, stuff like that. Will my console fit? Will this fit? Will that fit? If I do this seat, stuff like that. So the Sunfire seats, it's kind of a tongue twister for me, I guess, is a very common swap. So I think this will make a great video to get those dimensions for you. All right, let's see if I can get through this. Brain fade so bad. This console right here is a old school Bestop. Now, whenever I bought Rust Bucket, the fella that I got Rust Bucket from called me up one day and says, hey dude, I got this console that came with Rust Bucket if you want it. And he lives here in town. Really super cool dude. Wesley is a cool dude. So I said, hey man, I appreciate it. So I go over and I grab this console, and it was, what else was it? The soft top frame. I think it was, yeah, the soft top frame. But that's neither here or there. So what we're going to be able to do is, the Sunfire seats, what we're going to dimension is from between here and here, here and there. You see how the side bolsters come up a little bit. But we'll also take the dimensions off this Bestop console to give you something to go off on that too. So we'll take the dimensions off the console. The console is just literally sitting there. I mean, it's just along for the ride, so it's not bolted down. I'll pull the console out. We'll take the dimensions on the console itself, and maybe that'll help you get you what you need. Now, don't y'all be talking smack about my drawing now. So here's what I plan on doing. This kind of simulates the seats. You see these little bulges right here, the little darker areas? That is your side bolsters, as you see here, here, there, there. And then as you see here, these darkened areas here is going to be the bulk of the side bolsters coming out here, which they really don't stick out, to be honest with you. They stay pretty well flush with the seats. So they're kind of irrelevant, but I thought I'd put them in there to be complete. Now, you see this line right here? That is going to be the door. So we're talking about the edge of the seat here to the surface of the door panel. Why am I including that? Well, again, this being one of those super popular swaps to where people want to put these Sunfire seats in their rigs, they're like, well, will it hit my console? Can I put this console in? How close is it to the door? Where's my legs positioned at? All this kind of stuff like that. So I thought, you know what? If I'm going to do something as, just get dimensions for a console, I'm going to go ahead and get all the dimensions that everybody needs. Now, to help you guys with this video, you guys really need to go back and watch the video when I installed these seats, because then you're going to see the modifications it takes to put these seats in, which is very minimal, honestly. There was some drilling involved, but that's because the bolts wouldn't come out, so I had to drill the head off the bolts. That's all it really boils down to. They're pretty much a drag and drop swap. Only if you get the 2-door Sunfire seats. If you get the 4-door Sunfire, then you got some modifications you got to do. But get the 2-door versions, they're pretty much a direct bolt in. They're super simple, super comfortable. They work. Now, some things some people have to do, it's a matter of preference, it really is. that these seats, okay, just imagine this right here is where your tush is sitting, okay? The bottom of the seat here, okay? Notice how my seats are laying kind of canted backwards like this, okay? Well, my seats are sitting, let's just say like this. This is the back side, the back coming up like this, seat sits down like that. Well, some people don't like that downward rake. For me, it doesn't bother me. But some people just get totally spazzed out because they're leaning tail down a little bit. They want to put spacers on the back of it to pick it up. That's okay. Because what you would do, you'd put those spacers in between right here to jack the seat up to level the seat out if that's one of the things you want to do. Me personally, it doesn't bother me. So again, that's one of those preference things. So before we start out with the console thing, let's get some other dimensions out of the way so we can get some details going. Now the first dimension we're going to look at, we're going to measure from the floorboard to the top of the seat. And we're looking at about 16.5 inches if you was to project a line straight at the top of the surface of that, being tangent and hitting the tape, looking at about 16.5 inches. Why does that matter? Because that's more of how your leg positioning to the pedals and to the floorboard. So some people, if they're a ½ inch off, it spazzes them out. That's one of those things you just got to check. You know, when you put these seats in. Now the height difference, honestly, I've ran these seats for so long, and I haven't ran a factory YJ seat in so long, I can't exactly remember the differences in them. But I'm pretty sure because of where my seat camps downward like that, my tail is down a little bit lower, but my legs are pretty much stay where they were from the factory YJ seats, if I remember right. Again, it's been a while since I've had factory YJ seats. And again, you can do the spacer thing down there to kick it up, make it level, because some people, it just totally freaks them out. So, more power to you. As far as the dimensions between the door, I want to jump over on the other side and kind of stretch over across all this to get that dimension. So I'm looking at about, if I go on this surface here, call it 1.25 inches, because that's just an easier dimension to deal with. Then the overall width of the seat, with my console sitting in, honestly, I'm not going to use that dimension. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the console out because it's just riding here. Then you'll guys get a more accurate dimension as to how far the bolster goes out and stuff. Then we'll get the physical dimensions off this console to give you guys something to build off of. Okay, like we said, we got 1.25 inches, and notice how this arc comes out right here. So I'm going to the furthermost arc right there. Get down below that lip on the door panel, looking at about 1.25 inches. Okay. Got the console out. Gave me an opportunity to clean the junk out from underneath it. Go to the furthest part of the arc. Make sure my tape's lined up and me not move it. Right there. 21 inches. So from the furthest part of the arc here on that bolster to the furthest part of the arc here on this bolster is about 21 inches. Now, keep in mind, I've had the console in here for a while, so I may have actually flattened that bolster out a little bit to the point it fades in. But honestly, if it is pushed in, it's no more than a ½ inch, okay? Same here, furthest point to the bolster, to that one, looking at about 7.5 inches, roughly. So that gives you that. Now, just to be complete, I guess. Oh. And this seat right here, for this part of the bolster to here, 22 inches. So that gives you your dimension from, the surface of the door to that bolster, the width of the seat to there, then the distance between the seats there, then the width of this seat. So cumulative, you know, you add all that together, and I'll pop up a number here in a minute because I forgot what the dimensions were, and that will give you your dimensions on that. Now, another dimension that can play relevant as to your consoles is the distance between where the step up here in the tub go forward. Now, bear in mind, if you got automatic versus stick shift, it's going to be different. And you got to watch where you stop your console at up front, because right now I've got pulled back in second gear. Therefore, give me, you know, knowing I've got to stop my console at this spot to prevent the shifter from hitting the console. We'll take the dimension off the Bestop console here in a minute, but for kicks and giggles, let's pretend like the tape is about right along in here. It's about pretty well even with that step down there, and my shifter is about 24 inches or so. That's to Mr. Skullhead here. But if you drop that 24-inch dimension right here, you know, you're going to be pretty well golden because you're not going to hit anything. Now, some of you may look at my shifter and says, "Oh, Chuck, that's not a Jeep shifter." And you're right, it's not. It is a little thicker, it's tapered, stuff like that. This shifter right here come out of an S10. I know that's going to throw some of you for a loop. But right down here, it's been cut and welded. Whenever I first got this Jeep, the transmission that was in it had a piece of stub sticking up where the shifter had broken. So for the longest time, I had a hollow jack handle down there shifting gears and everything. Well, there was a T5 come out of an S10 that, I don't know, I'm trying to remember the whole thing. One of them that Dad had, and he had an extra shifter laying around. He gave me the shifter, and I modified and sleeved it right down there, put this shifter on there. So that's technically an S10 stock going down to the AX15 shifter down here. So don't let that confuse you. The only thing that's going to be a difference is this is a little bit thicker. So stop your console about right along in here. Whenever you come back for your 5-speed shift, you should be good to go. Again, what was that, 24 inches? And so making it even with the back wall back here. It goes to about 27 inches to the shifter here. So if you come back 24 inches to the edge of that wall here, project that wall straight up here and come forward about 24 inches, you should be good. But honestly, I'd probably make it a little bit shorter if you could. But again, that's one of those things, it's all up to you. Now, next dimension between the side bolsters. You're looking at about 7.5 inches, which is a little bit of a squeeze. But if you want to split hairs, let's call it 7.25. Keep it simple. So 7.25 between here. Let's keep it simple like that. I said 7.5 at first, but that's actually putting a little bit of compression on your side bolsters. It doesn't matter, people. Don't get stressed over it. So 7.25 will keep you off the side bolsters. And see, that dimension was at about, placing to the floor here. I placed that dimension about 19 inches up. And come across here, and there's that. Now, one thing you got to keep in mind when you're building your console is your mounting points here and your mounting points back here is going to be a lot different because you're going to have your floor of your console flat. You're going to have some little legs back here that's going to come up like a hat brace, a hat or sort of shape. You'll see that on the Bestop console here in a bit. But it's going to be jacked up to hold the floor flat of your console. But you'll see that on the Bestop here. Bestop center console. I need to clean the floor of this rascal. Because I actually have a ammo can console that I started building, but I've never finished. If you guys want to see me build an ammo can console, pop it down in the descriptions down below, and I'll finish that console up for you, show you how it's done. So I brought the console back here, set it up, and put some foam behind it so we can just look at the profile of this console. Like I said, this is the Bestop console where it came from originally. I know it did come from Morse 4x4, Amazon, something. I have no earthly idea. Because whenever I got Rust Bucket, like I mentioned earlier, that the guy that I got Rust Bucket from called me up and said, "Hey dude, I still got some more stuff for that YJ if you want it." So there we go, he gave me the console for it. Overall length of this console, we're looking at 20, stay dang it. Try to keep my arm out of the shot. Including foam thickness, we're looking at about 23.5. Height right here to the surface of this, we're looking at about 9.5. Now, to here to there, 12 7/8 of an inch or so. The dimensions of this, about 4 inches thick by about 13.25, and the depth this way of the console, you're looking at, say, 7.5 inches. Let's anything else I can do here. Now, the one thing I mentioned a moment ago too is whenever this console, whenever you build one, your floor needs to stay flat, the floor of the console. You see right here's that brace I told you guys about a minute ago. It's kind of shaped like a hat. If you look at it from the back, it goes up like this, like this, like that. Okay, let's take that shot again because we just had a loud motorcycle go by. This brace comes upward like this, over like this, and down like that. Therefore, your center hump comes through right here, and this goes on each side of it. How tall is that, you ask? That's a very good question. Put your tape down right here, looking at about 5 3/4 inches, which I've got a piece of 2x right there, which has got a pretty well flat, and that is 5 3/4 inches. And if you need to know what that's made out of, that's like a 2-inch wide here, and it's like it's probably 1/8 inch thick of the metal. Now let's get you a little bit of a back end shot to help you out with those dimensions. And again, you see how the brace kind of kicks out flat right here, and forms like a hat, I guess, because like a little top hat. Goes up, comes across, up, over, down, over. And that is at about 7 inches overall width. The feet from here to there, about 8 3/4 inches. Offsetting them out about 7/8 of an inch or so. And again, I'm not putting these dimensions directly on the money on the tape measure down to the 32nds of an inch because it's not needed. Don't be splitting hairs, make it hard on yourself. Again, the overall width dimension, it's like about 7 1/4. I don't know what I said a minute ago, but dangle up, well, 7 1/2 right there because of the foam thickness. 7 1/2. And we've got a hinge right here. And there's no need me opening it up because that ain't nothing, one big huge open cavity right inside there. This right here just simply drops down inside there and forms for your cup holders and stuff like that. This whole thing ain't up but one big open cavity full of junk at the moment. Now let's look at the front lip so you get your idea that you need up there. Right here you see this is where it bolts to the front of the console, bolts down to the floor. You just simply use some self-tapping screws and screw it straight to the floor. Your screws, this is 1/8 inch thick right here. Again, probably 2 inch. Yep. And you just need those screws long enough to make it through this and down by another 3/4 of an inch. So if you had like a 1-inch screw self-tapper, you'd be good and you wouldn't hit anything down below it. I don't know where you get this insert, so don't try asking. I have no idea. Yes. Oh, tripping over stuff. This piece of flat bar right here comes back that is 3 inches long. That's a piece of flat stock. And as you can see, the bottom of it ain't nothing but a particle board with that funky vinyl stuff wrapped around it. Nothing fancy. So there's the profile of it, and I'll try to pop me up a picture up here that's going to have all the dimensions where you guys can screenshot it or something. Now somebody's going to be all detail fanatic here, and they're going to look, well, I got the there's inset, this at an angle, what's that angle? Don't do that to yourselves. Don't stress yourself out like that, okay? Here's the deal. This is inset from the edge of this inward about 1 inch, okay? Bend this all at 90s and make it 90 coming off the top of this, okay? Don't worry about kicking it out at that angle. It's not going to make that big of a difference. One of the things about building stuff like this is not to stress yourself out. Have fun with your projects. So what? I don't know what that angle is, and I'm not even going to try to give it to you because it doesn't matter. Bring it straight down off of 90 like that, it will still work. I know, I've done it. So there you go. Not only did I give you the dimensions of a console, I gave you the spacing between the seats, spacing between the doors. I gave you guys all that information you need to know if the Pontiac Sunfire Seats are going to be what you want, or if you have the Pontiac Sunfire Seats, are they going to be, can you build a console between them, or what dimensions do you need to do that? Again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, this is one of those questions that I don't know why I never thought about answering it, because this is one of the most popular swaps, is putting those Pontiac seats in a YJ. And remember, go back and look at the video where I did the install. You need the 2-door Sunfire, okay? Not the 4-door. 4-door will work, but the 4-doors will require more modifications, more drilling, stuff like that. And the 2-door Sunfires are super common in the junkyards, so there you go. I don't remember how much I paid for those, but they were crazy cheap. A lot cheaper than putting YJ seats in, and so much more comfortable. Now, another thing I want to mention is whenever I was doing these dimensions up on the seats and on the console and stuff, don't beat yourself up getting down to the closest 32/2 of an inch. Not needy, people. Don't do that to yourself. The beauty of building junk like Rust Bucket here, and I mean even nice rigs and stuff, consoles are one of those things that don't have to be perfectly dialed in. If you're doing suspension setups, okay, I'm totally down with that. Doing engine drops and custom engine mounts, I'm totally down with, having good accurate dimensions. Totally good with that, because you got vibrations you may have to deal with. There's so many different things that would go on with drivetrain suspension setups that those critical dimensions become necessary. Now with consoles, doing custom dashes and stuff like that, those dimensions are not necessary, okay? Well, with a custom dash, I guess if you was wrapping, coming up here and coming down, if you need a certain bend, there's certain things about a dash that would be pretty critical, but we're not going to get into all that. But doing a console, it's not crazy tight dimensions. Don't do that to yourself. Just have fun with it. Be creative. Let that artistic flow, and build something that you would love to show off, and something functional. Okay? So everyone, if you enjoyed this video, hit me with a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave me some cool comments down below. And I really appreciate you hanging out. Peace. Later, y'all.